After the wife and husband had a huge argument at home, they immediately left with their luggage. But before leaving, the wife secretly placed a miniature camera in the house. Because her mother-in-law also lived in their house, she wanted to see if her husband and mother-in-law missed her when she was not around. She wanted to know whether her husband and mother-in-law actually missed her. But the wife didn't expect that. As soon as she left, a strange woman came into the house, and the mother-in-law actually called that woman her daughter-in-law. At that moment, the wife realized that her mother-in-law and husband had colluded to deceive her. The wife learned everything through the camera. It turned out that the woman in front of her was Mary, the daughter of the hospital director. The husband had already been having an affair with Mary. He pretended to be doing IVF with his wife, but secretly did IVF with Mary behind her back. However, the husband couldn't bear for Mary to have a child. He secretly switched the IVF samples of his wife and Mary. The wife was extremely angry. This meant that the child she had worked so hard to conceive was not her child at all, but the child of her husband and Mary. On the other side of the camera, the husband even maliciously stated that as long as his wife successfully gave birth, he would immediately file for divorce from his wife and marry Mary. The wife was furious. She suddenly came up with a perfect revenge plan. The next day, the wife contacted a friend who worked at the hospital. She asked her friend to help her get an abortion. After the wife successfully had the abortion, the friend handed the child's ashes to the wife. The wife made a bold decision. She decided to store the ashes at a courier station. Then, after 2 months, her husband's family would host a grand family banquet. At that time, she would send the ashes to the banquet address. Then, the wife stuffed a lot of cotton into her clothes. She continued to pretend to be pregnant. She appeared in front of her husband and mother-in-law. The husband and mother-in-law hypocritically apologized to the wife. They said they shouldn't have argued with her yesterday, but the wife's expression was very cold. The wife calmly said that for the safety of the child, she would rest at a friend's house from now on. The mother-in-law and husband didn't want the wife to stay in their home either. They quickly agreed. Little did they know, this was all part of the wife's plan. 2 months later, the date for the wife to give birth arrived. The husband and mother-in-law anxiously waited outside the operating room. At that moment, the friend walked out of the operating room. She regretfully told the husband and mother-in-law that although the child had been successfully born, the wife had died during childbirth. The mother-in-law immediately started crying. The husband even dropped to his knees. They both pretended to mourn for the wife, but deep down, they were secretly happy. Finally, they had gotten rid of the burden of the wife. After the mother-in-law and husband finished their emotional act, they were excited to take the child to the family banquet. That's right. The wife's prediction was absolutely correct. Today was the exact date for the husband's family banquet. But the friend said the child's condition was very weak. The child had to stay in a special observation room for 5 hours. The friend voluntarily offered to bring the child to the banquet after 5 hours. She suggested that the mother-in-law and husband go ahead and attend the banquet. The husband and mother-in-law happily agreed. At this moment, they still didn't know that what they would ultimately receive was just a box of ashes. Soon after, the husband and mother-in-law arrived at the banquet venue. This banquet had invited all the respected elders of the family. They were all praising the husband for being amazing. He had managed to get a little boy so quickly. The husband proudly accepted all the praise, but when the elders asked where his child was, the husband was a bit embarrassed. He had never even met the child. The husband immediately called the wife's friend, but the friend didn't answer the phone. At that moment, a courier box suddenly arrived at the banquet venue. If the husband had opened the courier box at that time, he would have immediately seen the ashes inside. But unfortunately, the mother-in-law stopped the husband from acting. In the mother-in-law's eyes, the wife was already dead. Touching anything related to the dead at such a lively banquet would bring bad luck. The husband thought what the mother-in-law said made sense, so he casually tossed the courier box to the ground. At that moment, the banquet hall doors suddenly opened. Under the astonished gazes of everyone, the wife elegantly walked through the door. She was holding a mysterious package in her arms. Though the husband felt very regretful that the wife hadn't died, he had to pretend to be happy on the surface. He congratulated the wife for still being alive. The mother-in-law tried to snatch the wife's package, but the wife immediately stopped the mother-in-law. The elders of the family were furious. They all thought the package in the wife's hands contained contained the child. They questioned the wife why she wouldn't let them see the child, but the next second, the wife threw the package into the air. Many white slips of paper fell from the sky. The wife stylishly took off her coat. She was wearing the traditional mourning attire underneath. Everyone was utterly shocked. The mother-in-law angrily asked the wife where the child was. The wife smiled mysteriously. She pointed to the courier box lying on the ground. The child is there. The husband, in disbelief, opened the courier box. Inside, there was indeed an urn with ashes. The husband was terrified. He actually dropped the urn to the floor. The mother-in-law was so enraged by the wife that she fainted. But the wife's revenge was not over yet. She converted all the video recordings from the camera into audio files and played them in front of everyone. The husband was in utter despair. This was the most agonizing moment of his life.